Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change your front wheel bearings in your DT Swiss X1900 wheel. So that's a mountain bike wheel. So I'll go ahead, I'll run through the steps. Right, so I've moved the disc off the wheel. Now we need to get the cover caps off the end. So you're not just going to be able to get hold of these and pull these off, because normally they're tight. Because you got the piece there where the axle, this happens to be 15mm, goes through the middle of the axle, and then just down inside there's a ring in there, and that's what's holding it in. Even though that appears to be loose, it won't just pull out because that ring in there is holding it down in there. So you need to get a vice and then put the wheel in the vice with something soft, not damage these. You can't just clamp these up in the vice as they damage easier because they're aluminium. So you need to clamp that in the vice, put this in the vice, clamp it up, and then using the wheel rim you can just pull up. You have to give it quite a bit of force to get it to come, for these to come off. So I'll go ahead, it's the same for both sides, so I'll go ahead, I'll get these off. Right, so there we have the two end caps there, as you can see. Like I said, they're two separate pieces. Like that, and you've got a longer one and a shorter one. The longer one goes on the disc side and the shorter one goes on the opposite side. You can put them to one side. Now you can see the wheel bearings in there, like so, and as you can see it doesn't turn at all. That bearing is totally seized up, won't move at all. It might move when you've got your hand on the wheel turning it, but it doesn't turn with your finger. So they've absolutely had it. You can imagine, if you don't look after them, you can have the most expensive wheels in the world, but if your bearings are no good in the middle, if you don't service them regularly, then you're wasting your time. Rolling resistance on those is unbelievable. Same for that side, the bearing doesn't even turn. So what you've got to do to remove these is down in the centre there, there's a sleeve in there, spacer. You can see that. What you've got to do is move that to one side, so as we can knock the bearing out a bit by bit. And it has to move left and right, up and down. So you want to get yourself something soft, not a screwdriver or anything metal, because when you poke it in there and you try and push that collar, the sleeve over to one side, if you score that in there in any way, then if you got like a 15mm axle in there that's the same size as that, we'll just get the axle, if you see, the axle is exactly the same size. So when that goes through, if you damage the inside of the sleeve down in there, then your axle won't go in. If you put a burr in that, then it'll be no good. So you can't just hit it in there with a screwdriver to move it over, because you'll damage it. So you need something soft, like the opposite end of a screwdriver, a small screwdriver handle down in there, or move it over, something soft like that, or something that's protected. See, like that, you can put that in there like that, and then just push over on it and move it. You see the collar's moved. So therefore, because it's moved, you can drop a punch down in there. You see right at the bottom, you see that there's a lip there of the bearing, so you can get a punch on there, give that a tap, and then we'll move the collar over, give it a tap the other side, and just keep doing that until the bearing comes out. So I'll just show you that. Right, so what you want to get yourself to do this with is a block of wood on a hard surface, and then if you see there, the bearing is just up inside there, so you can hit it down until it's flush, and it should almost be out if you do that, so the bearing's almost flush with the end. Obviously it won't come out because it's going to be resting on the block of wood on the floor, but you can get it down flush to start with. So you just lay the wheel on the block of wood like so, put it like that, and what you do is get yourself a punch and just put it down inside like I showed, and it'll rest on the against the bottom. Then you just give that a tap, then we'll move the collar over, we'll just keep going round like that. Right, so what I'll do is I'll lift the wheel up off the block of wood there. As you can see, the bearing is coming out like so, and the collar is now loose. The spacer collar inside the wheel is now loose, so it just makes it easier now that that's gone loose in there like so. So I'll continue to hit that down. Once you got it to a certain stage where it's right on the end, as you can see, this is the disc side, then what you can do is just hold your wheel up off your block of wood and then knock the bearing out like so. It just fall out, or put it in there like that and tap it out with the hammer, and it'll come out, as you can see there. So you've got the bearing itself. It's an original one, still got the writing on it, on the bearing, on the seal there. That's original, never been changed before. Then you've got an O-ring, rubber O-ring there, that went on there like so, over the spacer collar like that. There's one either end, and there's the aluminium collar in the middle, sits over the bearing like that, and you've got your other bearing on there. So now we remove those, then put them to one side, and then what we do is, that was this side just removed. So I'll go ahead, I'll just spin the wheel over, place it down again, and you'll be able to easily see inside, down in there you can easily see the other bearing in there now. So it's just a case of, again, getting your punch and just knocking that round like so. Just continue tapping it around until it comes out so it's almost flush with the end, and then lift your wheel up and then just tap it down through till it comes out. So you have the opposite side, as you can see there. Might look good from that side where you see the seal, the coloured seal on it, the original bearings again. On the other side, you can see that all rusty water coming out of it. That bearing just about moves, barely. It's all notchy. So I'll go ahead, we'll get the inside of the hub all cleaned up there, get rid of the old grease and any dirt and everything. Then we're ready to reinstall a couple of new bearings in there. Right, so we got the hub cleaned out inside of any old grease or dirt, like I said. Now you've got the spacer there like so. The O-rings, there's just a groove that they sit on there. So you just clean them up and put them back over so they sit in the groove. Like so, both ends. Now, when it comes to the bearings, get yourself a couple of top quality bearings from known manufacturers. Don't use cheap bearings, it's a waste of time. The cheap bearings, they may well look the same, but the tolerances are nowhere near as good, and also to cut costs, they tend to use plastic inside them between the ball bearings. The cage is plastic instead of the expensive ones, which are always made of metal inside the cage, because it's harder to manufacture. That's why they're more expensive. The cheap ones just use the plastic cages, cheap to manufacture. So always use a pair of decent quality bearings, then it'll last you a lot longer than cheap ones. So what I'll do is go ahead, we'll put this side in first. So what you want to get yourself is to put these in. I'm just doing this on a block of wood. If you've got a vise, you can go ahead and rest it on, let's say, on top of a vise with a piece of cardboard or a rag underneath it so you don't damage the wheel. But I find it's just as easy to do it on a block of wood, therefore you're not going to damage anything when hitting bearings in or knocking the old ones out. So what you need to put the bearing in is a socket. It's a 21mm socket. So like so, it's just the same as the outside of the bearing, so you're only hitting on the outside edge. Never hit where the seal is, unless you're knocking old bearings out that you know are no good anyway and you're going to replace them. Then it doesn't matter if you're knocking on the seal, but always try and knock on the outside edge of the bearing if you can. Never hit where the seal is, because you'll just ruin the bearing straight away before you've even got them in there. So what you want to do is just get some grease in your wheel. Just put a smear of grease round where the bearing's going to sit, like so. And then with your bearing, just put some grease around the outside of the bearing, and whichever way you're going to put it up. Some have a coloured seal one side and a black seal on the other side, so it doesn't matter, but so you know, all you want to do is whichever side you're going to put down inside the wheel, just put some grease on the back of it over the seal as well. Just helps keep any water out when it gets in, which it does. Water gets in, that's why these bearings go bad, because if the water gets in, then the grit's in there, and that's what wears your bearings out eventually. So just do that. Then you can just drop that into place like so. As you can see, you don't want to get it in there crooked, it's got to go in there nice and straight. And then, like I showed with your socket, rest that over there, and then just start tapping it in, just checking from time to time that it's going in straight. You don't want it going in crooked. So I'll go ahead, I'll start tapping that in. Right, so you can see the bearing installed in there, like so. Just make sure it's gone all the way down. You'll hear the note change when you're hitting it in as it hits the bottom anyway. And then just check that it actually turns nice and freely. And then what you do is, so you turn the wheel over, like so. And then what I'll do, the side that's going down inside the wheel, I'll just put some grease over there where the O-ring is, and then the same to that side there. Put some grease on that, and then all you do is lower that down inside, like so. Just rest it in place. Make sure it's touching the bearing at the bottom, and then get a bit more grease, just run it around where the bearing's going to sit. And then get your new bearing again, put some grease around the outside of it, and then whichever side is going to go inside the hub, I'll just put some grease over the back of it, again like that, and then drop that in place. Like so, just rest it on the top, and then again get your socket and your hammer and put that over the top, and just keep checking you're hitting it in straight, and just go round gently gently tapping it in like so. Right, so there's the bearings both installed there. There's this side and there's an on this side there, you can see. So once you're happy with those, you make sure they spin okay. What you want to do is you can refit your end caps on there. So to refit those, what you want to do is, these happen to be 15mm through axle caps, so they've got the separate washer on there, as yours might not have those. If it hasn't, then you have a bit that's sticking down that goes inside. If it's 12mm through axle, it'll go inside the actual bearing itself instead of resting on the top like that. So whichever you've got, make sure that you just put some grease in there like so first, and then just put a bit of grease on the actual cap itself like so. And then to fit these ones, like I say, with the washer on there like that, you can just rest them over there, put them down in, and then using your socket, just put that in there like so. Just tap on the socket a little bit. And there you go. Puts it in there again, so you just tap down on it like that. And it's the same for the opposite side. Right, so we've refitted the disc back on there. What you want to do is just try your axle through the middle, just to make sure it's lined up before you try and in the bike itself. Just make sure it's going to go through okay. And then you're ready to refit that back in the bike. Right, so there's the steps complete for you. Now the bearings are 61902 RS. The bearings, there's two of them in that wheel. So as you saw, I only used minimal tools there. Literally something to undo your disc with, then hammer and a punch, a socket 21mm, block of wood and some grease, and that's about all the tools you need. So it's very simple to do. And as I said, those bearings, if you've never changed yours before, they'll definitely need replacing, because once the water gets in, if you wash your bike or ride in the wet and the mud, then the bearings will more than likely need replacing. So it's very simple to do if you just follow the steps. So if you found the video helpful, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.